Hey, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Educated Fan. My name is Brandon, and I am joined here by your co-host, my best friend, Andrew Moore. It is technically another Do Not Wash the Jersey episode, but that game was 2 days ago. Today is Monday, August 30th, and a lot of shit happened today. Not so great. Don't feel so great about our 3-0 preseason record. Peyton Manning often went 0-5 in preseason, so don't much care about that record in the first place, but there's a lot of news coming out of Colts Town today. But first, sir, how was your weekend?
Weekend was all right. Had a nice birthday party with the family. Did a lot of work around the house. Watched a good NASCAR race on Saturday night. Always got to get my NASCAR talk in here early in the show. But for Colts fans watching this show today, it's going to be an up and down episode because there's definitely some good things to talk about, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't too. You shouldn't be too excited about right now, and it's a tough time to be a Colts fan. It's very nerve-wracking, I would say. You thought things were starting to finally turn the corner. Bam, the weekend hits and everything goes back to how it was. But how was your weekend up there in Seattle before we dive into the thick of things?
Buddy, I am tired. I had a long weekend, had some visitors this weekend. Here in Seattle, went and did a lot of the touristy stuff. Went to the original Starbucks. Fun fact, original Starbucks logo, that mermaid, boobies hanging out. Just saying hello to the world right there on the old logo at the original Starbucks. Very funny. Had to get up and take my friends to the Skylar, longtime listener.
Shout out Skylar.
Shout out Skylar. Had to take him to the airport this morning at 4 a.m. So I'm tired. Worked all day. And had to get my butt up and do this, because we're a day late. Sorry, fans. If you weren't on the internet today, you missed some news, and we're going to get to it. But speaking of the internet, go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at The Educated Fan _ Very easy to spell because, we changed the name not too long ago. No more ad, just The Educated Fan. Easy enough. Speaking of following us, also, if you're listening to this right now, live, seeing our faces, click the like button, the subscribe button. Hell, if you really want to know when we're going live all the time, just go ahead and click on the old bell too, so you know when we're going live about as soon as we do. So, also, Andrew, do you got your cup?
Indeed, I do.
Andrew's got his cup. Make sure to go check out Every Cup Begins with K. Cup with a K. K with a K. K-A-Y. She makes some really awesome cups. See them here on the screen. If you go to her Facebook page and make an order, just do us a solid and let her know we sent you. Also coming up, Andrew, in just a couple days, little plug here, the Pigskin Podcast Network is launching. Get excited. Couple days. We're going to be tweeting about that. Hopefully having some fun activities through them and whatnot. We will see what that will bring. But, Andrew, let's get into it. Where are we going to? We're going to start camp. Camp's almost over. Last week of camp. Preseason games are done. What's some news coming out of there? Carson, you know what? Last weekend, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have a lot of fun stuff to talk about on the podcast this week. We're gonna have some good news. Carson Wentz practicing almost in full. 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. How many days of practice last week, Andrew?
He did 3 days in a row. So he came back last week. Carson Wentz made his return. Quentin Nelson made his return, and Ryan Kelly all made their return to practice last week. And Carson Wentz, he looked really good, actually, considering he's three weeks removed from foot surgery. And he came out there and did pretty much everything besides full team drills. Mm-hmm. He did all the individual stuff. He did heavy 7-on-7. Like when I mean heavy, he took every single rep in 7-on-7 and looked good, pretty good doing it. I mean, he did throw some interceptions. If you're getting all worked up about practice interceptions, you probably should take a chill pill because I think we've said this before in previous weeks. Practice is where you're supposed to make those mistakes, test the limits.
That's where you learn how big the windows are. That's how you get into sync with your receivers. I mean, that's how you build chemistry with your receivers. You're going to know what they're going to do on a more regular basis. All sorts of stuff. I don't want to say interceptions in practice are good, but they're learning opportunities for sure.
Well, Carson Wentz only had a practice and a half in training camp before he hurt his foot. So he's still trying to learn these guys. He's still trying to get the rhythm down. And to see him out there, the way he was moving, the way he was cutting on his foot, the way he was able to practice multiple days in a row, and that foot respond very well. I mean, that's super promising. Right. Hell, he was even on the field in Detroit doing his normal warm-up before the game like it was an actual game day for him. And that's very encouraging. All signs point to that foot healing incredibly well. There haven't been any setbacks in regards to the foot, and he is on pace to start week 1. And who would have thought that when they thought that the initial timeline was 5 to 12 weeks? He looks like he's going to make that 5-week mark pretty quickly and pretty early than that. So I mean, he had a great week. Quentin Nelson came back and had a really good week of practice. He started actually full team drills today. Was his first day in full team drills. He's been looking good, hasn't had any setbacks against his foot injury. And Ryan Kelly came back last week as well. He hyperextended his elbow in that first week of training camp. We haven't really seen him since. He was able to come back this past week, and he actually started participating in full team drills by the end of last week as well. So it looks like the offensive line is starting to get pretty healthy. I mean, Quentin Nelson is back full participating. Ryan Kelly, Mark Glowinski, Braden Smith, all 4 of those guys are out there. And the way Eric Fisher's
And I was going to say a guy you don't have on the list, Andrew, Eric Fisher. We're hearing the beat writers that are at camp talk about seeing him on the sidelines doing drills and whatnot and being active. He's not doing any kind of practicing with the team or anything like that, but he's doing well in his recovery.
From what I'm hearing, and give you some insider information,
I need a horn. Shit, I need a horn. Oh, I need a horn. I don't have a horn.
If this tells you anything, in my final roster prediction, Eric Fisher isn't on the PUP list. He's on the active roster.
Insider information from Andrew Moore.
Eric Fisher is on the active roster, and now because of what happened over the weekend, his week 1 status is a little bit in doubt, but week 2 is in play. And he could possibly be out there starting at left tackle by week 2 if all things go well, considering his current circumstances, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Week 2 would be wild. That would be so exciting. Andrew, let's talk more about Carson Wentz. We're going to talk more about Carson Wentz, but let's talk more about the early week, good stuff of the week first. That's something you said that didn't click with me until you started tweeting it and other. You know what? Andrew Moore's a beat writer. Let's just say that. Andrew Moore's a beat writer now. Andrew and the other beat writers started tweeting. Like I just didn't think of Carson Wentz practicing the second day in the way you put it. Basically like, hey, that means his foot responded well to day 1. Day 3, hey, that means his foot responded well to day 1 and 2, that he's able to practice like that. I didn't even think about that. I was just so ecstatic because everybody's talking day 1. Of course, this happened, the day after we recorded, but I was just ecstatic that he practiced almost pretty much a full day on day 1. I mean,
right.
We kept hearing limited basis, which you wouldn't expect a guy to go out there and play 7-on-7 every single rep the whole time. Now, the reason he's considered limited, come to find out, like just listening to stuff throughout the week. Technically, the NFL considers you limited if you don't participate in all team activity. So, limited was not the proper word to be used for sure.
Right, and the thing about this is too, he really wasn't limited in the amount of workload. I mean, obviously he wasn't in full team drills, and that's a big part of it. Don't get me wrong. That's a huge step that he needs to take in his recovery because there's a lot more stress on the foot. It's just different when you have 300-pound defensive linemen rushing at you and in your face. But as many reps with his arm that he could, basically, because throughout those days last week that he was participating, he was throwing the ball 35, 40 times. And normally when we've been gone through this training camp process, the quarterbacks like Jacob East and Sam Ellinger, even when they're taking first team reps, they're only getting maybe 25 or so reps. So because they are switching off and on in those 7-on-7 and on those 11-on-11 reps. But Carson Wentz took every single 7-on-7 rep to get ready for this. And that's why he was basically getting as much as he could without being in those full team drills. And he looked pretty damn good with it. He was hitting Kylan Granson down the seam quite a bit. There were a couple throws deep to T.Y. Hilton that looked really good. And they've really started to build a connection. So Carson Wentz, as far as throwing the football is concerned, he looked pretty damn good, and you can just tell the offense is so much different, and it looks like how the offense should when Carson Wentz is out there.
Yeah, and then in regards to, because Andrew did his thing where he talked about all the guys before I got a chance to chime in regards to Quentin Nelson and Ryan Kelly, we don't really need to spend much time talking about them in their practice this week. You all know how important it is to have the very best offensive line in the league and a top 5 center in the league back at practice. I don't want to waste too much time talking about this week anymore because it feels like at this point it's old news, right? So let's go over these injuries real quick, Andrew, and then we'll get to the game. And then we'll get to the most recent news that Monday brought us. Injuries. Another bad piece of Monday news. T.Y. Hilton, neck injury, no timetable. It's sounding like he's going to miss a significant amount of games, though. If I had to put a guess on it, time-wise, probably 8, the way it sounds. If you were to give a good guess, Andrew, what would you say? Somewhere in that neighborhood?
I mean, early possibly.
Andrew won't
it's
guess.
Just so hard. I mean, I would say it definitely, when they say it's not season ending, that definitely means that he's not coming back anytime soon. And there right now, there officially is no timetable just because they're still really not certain what all his injury is encompassing. So on the way to Detroit, he started feeling some discomfort in his neck and his upper back area. And then after talking with doctors, getting some scans and MRI, it's been determined that it's a disc issue in his upper back. And that could be quite dangerous, especially when you're a football player going out and getting hit. Neck injuries and back injuries.
T.Y. Hilton doesn't get hit. Let's just set the record straight.
Well, anything when you have hard helmets coming at that region for you. But yeah, anything like that, especially when your football player is very serious. And it really sucks because T.Y. Hilton, and like I said, him and Carson Wentz were developing a really good chemistry. And it seemed like Carson Wentz was at times going out of his way to try and throw to T.Y. Hilton and build that chemistry up. And Frank Reich said it yesterday when he was talking to the media. He said, I mentioned to Chris Ballard that T.Y. looked as explosive and as good as he's been since I've been here. And that includes the 2018 season when it was him and Andrew Luck still tearing it up. And that's a big testament to what T.Y. Hilton was able to do. I mean, if that's the T.Y. Hilton we were getting, that's a 1,200-yard receiver and 6 touchdowns. That's a borderline Pro Bowler, and it sucks. It really does suck because T.Y. Hilton, with the build up to him coming back into Lucas Oil Stadium after his free agency, where he almost didn't come back, being able to be paired with a quarterback being able to be paired with a quarterback like Carson Wentz and his skill set, where he had so much success with a quarterback like that and Andrew Luck, this team looks different when T.Y. Hilton is on the field. It just does. I mean, in the 10 games that he's missed in his career, to 10 or 11, the Colts are like 1-10 in those games. T.Y. Hilton makes a big difference. And without him on the field, it's time for those young receivers to step up. Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell, they're all going to need to shoulder this load and pick up the slack that T.Y. Hilton leaves when he's not on the field.
And I'll talk about a guy that seems to be ready to do so. Yeah, and what Andrew, we just said the other day, we saw a highlight of T.Y. Hilton just roasting Xavier Rhodes. I mean, just burnt the dude. And you and I text about that. We're like, you know what? We've talked about this on the podcast about how we just, T.Y. Hilton's not the guy to take the top off the defense anymore. And I mean, see many more of those plays, and I mean, we might have to admit that we were wrong. I hate doing it. I do it all the time. Let's get real. But yeah, T.Y. Hilton was looking good in camp, and definite chemistry being built between him and Wentz. So that's a damn shame. Sam Tevi, torn ACL, out for the season. And while this may not seem like a big deal, this is a position that we're lacking in depth. And as bad as Sam Tevi's been this preseason, Andrew, that doesn't mean there's someone better than him out there for us to go sign. You know what I mean? There's not just left tackles floating around out there as we've experienced over the last year. So, yeah, I mean, while it sounds like, oh well, it's not a small deal by any means.
It's a really rough ending to a tough preseason for Sam Tevi. I mean, he by the Detroit Lions game, he was relegated to backup right tackle. He really wasn't even in the competition to start at left tackle. This is a guy the Colts brought in and thought he would start at left tackle before we got Eric Fisher. So I think the loss of Sam Tevi doesn't hurt as bad, considering how he wasn't in that deep competition, and Eric Fisher is coming back. Hell, I really don't even think Sam Tevi was going to make this final roster just with how bad he did play. So it does suck, because he probably could have gone somewhere else and found a role. But yeah, really tough end to a bad preseason for Sam Tevi.
Sam Ehlinger sprained ACL, out 5 to 6 weeks. If there was any doubt in your mind about who is going to be the backup quarterback and possibly week 1 starter, it's been resolved at this point. He's going to be out 5 to 6 weeks. That's a bummer, because I do think he'd help us early in the season, because we've talked about it in like a Taysom Hill role. We haven't seen anything or heard anything to indicate he was going to be used that way, but we had our suspicions. It's not like the Colts are showing anybody their tricky offensive plays, yada yada.
Right. You get it, right? But Sam Ehlinger, I mean, he came into the game against the Lions and he led an absolutely drunk 2-minute drive where he sends a 60-yard bomb to Desmond Patman. And then he laterals it to Sam Tevi on the very next play. It's like, what is going on? But that hit that he took on the sack, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, he could have torn his ACL. It's a good thing he's only out for about 5 or 6 weeks. So he'll go on IR, but I'm pretty sure the Colts, once he's available, they'll bring him back, and then he'll be the third quarterback. And who knows, maybe late in the season, we'll still get to see a package for Sam Ehlinger to come in and work some magic.
Andrew, any of these ones serious? Some guys also left the game against the Lions. Patman, Odom, and Cameron Klein.
Yeah, Patman really didn't get too much of an update. He just wasn't able to return with something going on with his foot. George Odom is still in the concussion protocol, but by the time week 1 rolls around, he should be good to go. Cam Klein's a guy that probably won't make the roster, but it just seemed like everybody was going down Friday night at Ford Field. And just at that point, I was like, okay, just get everybody out of here, because who else is going to go down and get injured, especially after Sam Tevi just completely blew out his knee and had to be carted off the field. So it's a good thing the game's got over, and now we can kind of focus on week 1.
Can we put any kind of tag on Patman at this point to keep him from going to waivers with this injury, you think? Because if you haven't heard, we think probably Patman's going to get cut. Just 7 days ago, we said the opposite. We think Patman's probably cut.
Well, with some news about a wide receiver that got placed on a certain list, I think Patman's going to make the roster now.
Good point.
So the only tag that can be put on him right now is if he got put on IR for this injury, then he would be out for the season, because there's a rule that you have to be on the roster week one or at that tomorrow. You have to be on the roster by tomorrow. Otherwise, if you're on IR, you're done for the year. So what the Colts will probably do, like in T.Y. Hilton's instance, they'll keep him on the active roster after tomorrow once cuts happen. And then I think it's September 1st, the very next day at like 3 p.m. or something. Then you can move players to IR, and then they're still under the rules where they can return later in the years. So Patman, I don't think it's that serious that he have to go on IR, but yeah, I think Patman makes the team now.
I don't want to lose him.
Sure numbers.
I don't want to lose him. He looked good in the. Let me tell you how. I'll explain how fast we're going in that segment next. I'll talk about it now. I watched a 6-minute highlight video of the game because I was busy this weekend, had company, went to a MLB game, Mariners game Friday night, so I didn't get to watch the game. So it was like every play, like, you know how Game Pass has the compressed version? It was even faster. Couldn't get logged into Game Pass. Every app the NFL puts out blows. Just telling you right now. Can't stand it. Pisses me off. I can't. I get logged in. It doesn't go. It doesn't play. Doesn't let me play. So I couldn't watch the full game the way I wanted to. So Patman made a big catch. He looked to be active. So yeah, it's a guy I don't want to lose. I've been pulling for this dude since he got drafted last year. So we'll see. Anything else from that segment, Andrew? Camp talk?
I'm just glad camp's over. I'm real glad that it's over.
Kinda.
I'm hoping that we get to turn a new leaf and we actually start getting some better news after today, and it could just calm down. Because I mean, it was a lot to cover. It was good for us. A lot of things to talk about. But man, I would love a boring camp where nobody gets hurt and players just play, and we don't have to worry about this or COVID or all that. I mean, it's been a wild camp for sure.
Yeah, it's been wild. News every day. Can't stand it. Colts versus Lions. Let's talk about it. Eason played real solid. Even if Ellinger probably, didn't get hurt, he probably wins the backup job. I saw him throw a dart when I was watching the replays. Threw a dart with a guy coming straight for him. Took a big hit. Put the ball, not perfectly placed, but a catchable ball. He could have led the receiver a little more. And who was it? Mike Strawn. I felt like every play I watched, 17 was catching the ball, and if it wasn't him, it was Kylan Granson moving a whole fucking pile. So lots of good things coming out of the rookies. What did you think about Eason, though?
I thought Easton was pretty good. I mean, good in the sense that he was moving the ball down the field, mostly in the second quarter after he settled down. His accuracy jumped out to me. He was a lot more accurate than he was the second game against the Minnesota Vikings. He was putting the ball in the right place, leading his receivers, putting it where only his receivers could get it. He seemed to take some velocity off of a couple of his throws too, which I like to see. But that play that you're talking about, where he stood in the pocket and took a major hit and delivered that strike to Strawn down the field, that's an NFL throw. And we talked about Easton's pocket presence and how in college, especially when he would face pressure, he'd get outside the pocket, try to get away, sometimes prematurely. I haven't seen that as we progressed along in the preseason. He's starting to stand in the pocket strong. He knows he's going to get obliterated in there, but he still delivers the ball, takes the hit, gets up, and goes to the next play. And I really liked to see that progression in Jacob Eason's game. So I mean, even though Ellinger challenged him some, Eason has always been in the lead for this competition. And I think, like I said, Eason's ceiling is higher. I think he's got more pure ability than Sam Ellinger. So it wasn't a shock to me that he was going to be the backup quarterback. He would have been even if Ellinger was healthy. So I feel pretty good about Eason being the backup to Carson Wentz. And now he just needs to continue, because the work's not over for him by any means.
Oh, God,
he definitely needs to continue to progress throughout the regular season in case he can be called upon, or in case he needs to be called upon, I should say, and lead this team if Carson Wentz goes down or is out for any reason.
Vaccinated NFL players to be tested weekly. Is that new news?
I think that was a memo in the.
Somebody just wrote
That was a memo
an
the
article.
NFL sent out. That was a memo the NFL sent out,
Okay.
I think, today with their updated guidelines.
Okay, well, somebody wrote something about it 14 minutes ago on The Athletic. I just saw it in my notifications. Quiddy Pay. Tell me, Andrew, how did Kwity Paye look? I did not. I couldn't. I know he had a sack. But that's all I know. How did Kwity look?
Kwity Paye did his best Robert Mathis impersonation with that strip sack that was recovered by Taylor Stallworth. He looked good. I mean, the dude in a quarter play had a sack. He had a tackle for loss. He had a few run stops. I mean, Kwity Paye is the real deal. I mean, he was the number 1 rated edge rusher according to Pro Football Focus this past week. And he just dominated out there, and it's really good to see because he's got 2 quarters of action and he's pretty much dominated both those quarters in the preseason, and of course it's not against starters or anything like that. It's only the preseason, but it's good to see because in the regular season he's going to have DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart next to him that are taking up the middle. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities on that edge. And if you try to slide protection over to Kwity Paye, I mean, sure, DeForest Buckner will take that all day and he'll just go up the middle and get a sack. So he's really looking like he's coming on. And something that needs to be mentioned too is the Colts have really changed Kwity Paye's entire style of play. At Michigan, he would line up right in front of the tackle.
We talked about this last week.
In like a frog 4-point stance. And instead, now he's moved outside the tackle and he's able to use that speed rush. And he is just so quick off the ball. He really does remind me of a Dwight Freeney or Robert Mathis as far as his get off is concerned. Big time hype and praise for Kwity Paye. This kid's going to be a good one. And you know, I don't really get too hyped up about players. Kwity Paye is one of them.
Yeah, I love it. He's got it. Let's talk. We love saying they've got it. He's got it. Surprise cuts tomorrow, Andrew. You wrote an article on this. Who are some guys you mentioned?
So one article I wrote is I thought Marvell Tell could possibly be a surprise cut just because we haven't really heard about him at all in this preseason. And only
time I heard about Marvell Tell one time was about a bad play. That's it.
And I really watched him on Friday night, and he really just didn't make very many plays. But now, considering with all the situations, with all the injuries, guys going on IR, guys on the COVID list, now I think Marvell Tell will make it. Another surprise cut I have is I got Taylor Stallworth. I don't have him making the team. I think that instead Andrew Brown is going to make it because Taylor Stallworth plays more of that nose tackle at 3 technique behind to back up DeForest Buckner in that defensive tackle position. So I've got him not making it. I didn't have Desmond Patman making it until the T.Y. Hilton injury news, but I think Desmond Patman now makes the team. Farrod Green, he had a really good camp.
Two pieces of news could have kept Desmond Patman on the team.
Right, there we go. Farrod Green at tight end had a good camp. Colts are only going to be able to keep 3, so I don't really think that's a surprise cut. But it's just a shame that there weren't more tight end spots. So what about some surprise guys making the team? Andre Chachere. The safety, the safety, and he's got such position versatility too. He plays safety, he can play outside or inside corner. He has special teams ability. Chachere has really came on in training camp, really made a lot of plays. Just been all over the field. So I think he's going to make it. I guess here's a surprise cut. I don't have Sean Davis, the rookie out of Florida, making the team. I have Chachere taking that final safety spot, and the Colts only keep it 4.
We had one Sean Davis cut today.
The veteran Sean Davis was cut today. I think the rookie Sean Davis is a practice squad candidate because the Colts like where he is head-wise. That game against Detroit was bad. He had probably 5 or 6 missed tackles. He had a couple missed interceptions. Not a good game for him. So I think he just needs to go on the practice squad, learn a little bit more, and possibly he could be a backup maybe next year. Or if safeties have injuries this year, maybe Sean Davis could get called up then.
RIP to the 22-year streak of the Colts signing an undrafted free agent. Popular sound effect in my terrible show, Bad Beats with Brandon, that was going to air 3 to 4 times a week and has aired 2 times total. So keep a lookout for that. Hey, listen, if you can't shit on yourself, then you just don't have a sense of humor. Honestly, Andrew, when you talked about Patman making the team because of some other wide receiver news, I wasn't even thinking about T.Y. Hilton. I was thinking about a member of the next topic we're going to talk about, Zachary Pascal, along with Carson Wentz and Ryan Kelly and Fisher, all on the reserve COVID-19 list. All close contacts except for Fisher actually tested positive. Am I remembering? No, it was a Colts staffer that tested positive, right?
Fisher does have COVID-19. Quentin Nelson originally was a close contact this weekend, but he's already off the list and practicing.
Does that mean he's vaccinated, or that means he's not vaccinated?
Eric Fisher,
not Eric. I meant
Quentin Nelson.
Because if you're a close contact, that means you were not vaccinated, right? Because if you're vaccinated, you just have to produce a negative test.
If you have to sit out a certain amount of the 5 days, and you're just a close contact, that means you're not vaccinated. Okay. So we know for sure Quentin Nelson, Carson Wentz, Ryan Kelly, and Zach Pascal are not, because a staff member tested positive for COVID, and that's why Wentz, Pascal, and Kelly are all close contacts. Not everyone tested positive.
If I had to guess, it'd be somebody in the training room.
Yeah, it very well could be, because all of those guys have been dealing with injuries. Yeah. So that's...
Nice little deduction.
Every single one of them.
Nice deduction out of me, huh? You like that?
Listen, you go.
Where do you want to start on this?
Journalism by Brandon Moses.
Where do you want to start on this, Andrew? Because I stand in the middle. There's obviously, you go on Twitter, you go on the internet in regards to just any subject, but football for us, because that's what we give a shit about. And there, everybody seems to be so one-sided, and it's all political and whatnot. How do you want to approach this? What do you want to say about this? I know what I want to say.
My stance hasn't changed. I mean, I think since the beginning, even when we talked about it on the show, my thoughts on players getting vaccinated or not are it's a personal choice. I'm not going to tell you either way what to do. Do I think you should get vaccinated? Yeah, I do. Am I going to belittle you if you don't? No, absolutely not.
Are you going to call them a bad teammate if you don't?
They're grown men. They can make their own decisions. And yes, the NFL is making it very difficult if you don't get vaccinated because of these stiff protocols. And whether you like it or not, I mean, that's where the protocols are for these NFL players, and they know that, and they still are in charge of their own decisions. What I don't like is people saying that criticizing somebody's character just because they don't get the vaccine, or criticizing their entire makeup and making things personal because a football player is missing time on his own team, something that you don't have anything to do with whatsoever, and you're still criticizing him. And there's a columnist in the Indy Star that's really doing it, ripping into not only Carson Wentz's character. Yeah, go right ahead.
Let me just start this off. Now. Indy Star writer Greg Doyle fucking sucks. He's a fucking moron. I'm just roasting him on Twitter lately. I mean, I'm just tearing into this dude because I can't stand it. One day, he's saying, Jacob Eason, I want Jacob Eason to be the starter, and I hope he wins the job because Carson Wentz isn't vaccinated. And then he goes, oh my God, Carson Wentz is back. He looks so good. I'm so excited. And now today, fuck Carson Wentz. Piece of shit. Not vaccinated. Terrible human being. Carry on.
It's kind of laughable at this point, honestly, that people can get so worked up. I understand that people can be huge Colts fans. I mean, I'm a huge Colts fan. I've got season tickets. I follow the Colts probably as closely as anybody that I know. And the thing about this is there are more important things in life. Yes, it's going to make the Colts season more difficult, but the thing is, it's their decisions. You can agree or disagree with them, but people need to start to understand and learn to respect other people's decisions on what they do with what they put in their bodies. And if they want to take the vaccine or not, I don't think it's anybody's place to force that on it, whether it's fans on players, whether it's the NFL or media members.
If the fans that are so pissed off about this have an issue, they need to take it up with the NFL and the NFLPA. The NFL wants them all to be vaccinated. The NFLPA are the ones, that don't want to make that a mandate. But if you're so upset, go after the people who aren't making it happen. They can. It's legal. Hospital. My fiance's a nurse. She has to be vaccinated unless she has medical reason not to be. There's places you're legally allowed to force your employees, but the NFLPA bargained for not. So go get mad at them. The fact is, Andrew, and whether you like it or not, listen, I want Carson Wentz to get vaccinated. Do I think Carson Wentz being vaccinated would be more helpful for his team? Do I think that? I don't want to go as far as to say it's selfish of him not to, but the fact is, a factual statement, if he's vaccinated, he's not missing this week in practice. Okay, so it does affect the team. Okay, but again, like you said, it's his choice. I respect the hell out of the choice. Do I disagree with it? Yes, I do. But the fact remains, it does have an effect on the teams. That is what I'm behind. But belittling the guy and attacking his character, get the fuck out of here.
Well, the thing is, too, if anybody has the people that it's affecting the most, the coaches and his own teammates, and they're not even attacking it. What really pissed me off about the Greg Doyle piece is when he brought Carson Wentz's wife into this and his 1-year-old daughter. That's what really irked me, because you can attack a player for how they play on the field or for some of their decisions, but don't bring the player's family into this. That's completely off out of bounds. Yeah, it's off limits. Just stop it. I understand that for some reason Greg Doyle is so incredibly pissed off about Carson Wentz, a guy that plays quarterback for a team he covers, and you're supposed to be impartial as a media member. When you're going after his character and start talking about his family like that, that's completely out of bounds, and it's absolutely ridiculous that the Indy Star would actually post that.
My favorite hobby of the last week or two has been predicting the title of the article that Greg Doyle's going to release. I literally tweeted, oh, where's Greg Doyle? Like, here comes the article. When's it going to come out? I literally predicted it, and then it came out, and I was like, oh, there it is. It's hard. It does affect your team. It affects your teammates in a negative way, and the Colts are one of the least, if not the least, vaccinated team in the league. And guess what? Chris Ballard and Frank Reich have to deal with it.
And it sucks because me and you both, we hate talking about this on our podcast. That's why we hardly have
but we have
about it. It's annoying, and now that it's affecting the team, we have to. And now I think you guys all know our stances on it now. We hope they get vaccinated, but at the same time, they're people too. Hey. They're people too. They're not just entertainers for us.
Two things real quick, and then unless you have something else, we can move on. One, Isaiah McKenzie, Bills, got fined for not wearing his mask around the facility. You know what? He said, you know what? Fine. The NFL wins. I don't want to put up with all this bullshit. I'm going to go get vaccinated. Okay? And that's what we thought these rules would have more of an effect on. Most of these players have dug in. I don't think there's anything you could say to change their mind, but I'm telling you right now, people are still lining up out the door, as Mike Florio would say, to go get a Toradol shot to make sure they're available on Sunday. They do all sorts of shit, which, by the way, Toradol, actual for sure factual evidence that has negative long-term effects on your body. And they're willing to do that. That doesn't make their argument, oh, we don't know what's in it, doesn't make sense. It's fully FDA approved now. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me that that's the excuse. And, they're willing to do just about anything else they can to get out there on a Sunday. Whatever. I don't care. We're going to deal with it all year. So get ready to ride.
Every team's going to deal with it all year, whether you're vaccinated
not the Falcons.
Not really. It's just not the Falcons.
They're 100% vaccinated.
Well, they're 100% vaccinated, but Frank Reich and Matt Eberflus are both vaccinated, and they still got COVID. So teams are going to have to deal with this all year.
If you get that negative test, you're back.
The fact still remains the same. Teams are going to have to deal with this all year. Yeah. And honestly, I'm over talking about it. We're going to talk about it when Colts players go on the list. Other than that, I kind of want to stick to football. I really do.
I'm going to talk about it when we get to Hard Knocks. Not a lot. I'm just fucking around, but all right. Is that it? Can we move on? Can we go talk about more football things now?
News around the league.
Yeah, sure. If I can pull up the right stuff here, of course, Andrew. All right. News around the league. Let's talk about 5 minutes. Wow, Andrew's really putting a time constraint on me here, and he's the one that's going to take it over. Let's talk some QB battles, Andrew. And I missed on some of these for sure. Saints, Jameis Winston is been announced the starter over Taysom Hill.
Great decision.
Here's why. I think this is one of the determining factors. And then Peter King, actually, I heard a story from him today too. One, if it was close, okay, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, if it was close, why not make Jameis Winston the starter, and then you can still have your Taysom Hill doing the Taysom Hill things? Makes sense, right? I never thought of that. That never, went off in my brain. Number two, Peter King did this whole traveling around camps thing over the last couple weeks or something. And he was talking to Sean Payton, and Sean Payton was talking about how the number one thing they're going to miss from Drew is the 2-minute drill, that he was an absolute master. And not 20 minutes later, they're wrapping up practice and they're doing a 2-minute drill. And Jameis Winston just is lights out, drives the team down the field from the 10-yard line down to score a touchdown. And Peter King basically said, I think that's the minute when Sean Payton finally decided, like, okay, yeah, this is our starter.
I think just Jameis Winston has the potential to be a franchise quarterback when put in the right situation, especially with a coach like Sean Payton. And that's key, especially with a quarterback that has gone through what Jameis Winston has gone through, going from the number 1 overall pick in the draft to being cut basically, or not chose to re-sign by your team, then being a backup. I mean, Jameis Winston's been working really hard. And when you're with a coach like a Sean Payton, who is really good with quarterbacks, that can be good for you. And I've been off the Taysom Hill train for years now. I mean, I think incredible athlete in the right spot. It can be a very big asset for your team. Franchise quarterback, absolutely not.
People forget Jason. Why do I keep trying to call? I keep mixing Jameis and Taysom. I keep mixing Jameis and Taysom. Jameis Winston on a very short list of gentlemen who have thrown for over 5,000 yards. That list will grow now that we're going into 17 and eventually 18 games probably. But as of right now, 16 games, short list. Peyton Manning's on it. Jameis is on it.
Drew Brees, Tom Brady.
Is Brady on it?
Matthew Stafford.
I know Matt Stafford.
Brady got 5,000.
Hey, it's a short list either way. You get the point, okay? There was something there with him. Bruce Arians didn't want him there when he got there. Okay?
Right.
Just didn't want him there. That wasn't his guy, so he didn't want him. Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater. This was a kind of a surprise to me, I guess. Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater over Drew Lock. What's funny about this is they could have drafted Justin Fields, who apparently is the next coming. I'm not going to get into that again today.
Yeah, I saw that when they decided to go with Teddy Bridgewater, a guy that's going to get you maybe a 500 record, if that, over Drew Lock, who, I mean, Drew Lock is Drew Lock. I think he has good potential, but he just seems like he can never put it all together. And you know what? This is going to put the Broncos in the middle of the first round again next year, mediocrity, and they're not going to be able to get a franchise quarterback for the future. So the Broncos are in real big trouble unless they're still betting on Aaron Rodgers being available next year and trying to get him. They're going to be in trouble as far as finding their quarterback for a while.
Talked to James, a family member of mine who's a Broncos fan. He likes the Teddy Bridgewater move just in regards to the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So makes sense. Mm-hmm. Also, he's with an offensive coach from the Vikings. That was there with him at the Vikings when he was starting to look real good. Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence over Gardner Minshew. What? Are those parentheses something you're saying they should do?
The Gardner Minshew trade? That happened, brother.
Shut up.
This man was so off the grid this weekend that he doesn't know.
Grid, bro. I had no idea.
Gardner Minshew was traded to the Eagles for a 6th-round pick. You didn't hear that? Oh my God,
no, I didn't hear that. That's funny, but that's not even the reason I want to talk about this. That's so funny. So he won the competition over Minshew. We knew that was going to happen. Apparently, Minshew to the Eagles for a conditional 6th-round pick. Speaking of the Eagles, I saw today that Deshaun Watson won't get rid of the no trade clause to go to the Eagles. Anyway. The reason I brought this up, Andrew, Travis Etienne, we'll say, I mean, that's coming news later, is out for the year. The offensive line's not very good. Dan Patrick, a guy that we both respect quite well, honestly believe that they should not start Trevor Lawrence right away. And this is before the Minshew news. They shouldn't start Trevor Lawrence right away because you just don't want the guy to get hurt. What's your take on? I disagree with that because I think he has more weapons than everybody realizes. I think people are really downplaying some of those receivers. But what's your take on, like, hey, for his protection, maybe let's not start him? Just for
you got to start Trevor Lawrence.
I agree.
You got to. He's the number 1 overall pick. He was by far and away the better quarterback over Gardner Minshew. They were keeping this. They acted like it was a competition when really it wasn't. I think it's stupid that they went through all of this. The Jaguars are going to be the Jaguars. They went through all of this, and then they took reps away from Trevor Lawrence and gave him to Gardner Minshew just to trade him away to the Eagles for a bag of peanuts. I mean, honestly, what purpose was all of that in having this fake quarterback competition when everybody and their mother knew from day one Trevor Lawrence was going to be the starter? And if Gardner Minshew was named the starter over Trevor Lawrence, I think Urban Meyer should have been fired right there on the spot. I honestly do. Trevor Lawrence.
Let's be real. If that decision was made, that was a decision that was agreed upon by every level of that organization. But I get your point.
Trevor Lawrence is an Andrew Luck generational type talent. And I understand wanting to protect him, but at the same time, it's when you're the number 1 overall pick, you go out and play. And he's got, I do like his weapons. We talked about DJ Shark, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones,
James Robinson.
Travis Etienne is hurt, but James Robinson's back there. He had a really good year. And if, as far as the offensive line is concerned, the Jaguars need to focus on quick passes so that way Trevor Lawrence isn't holding on to the ball too long. If they want to protect him like that, that's what the offense needs to be based around.
Yeah. I don't know. I've not watched any of his preseason stuff. I've heard that he's done okay, not, what you would hope out of him, but it's a preseason. Give it a break. All right, let's not try to slow down too much here with this stuff, Andrew. But the Vikings and defensive end Everson Griffin agree to a deal. Did you know that after he left the Vikings, he tweeted that Kirk Cousins was ass? And then it was addressed by the media when he came back, and he called him Kurt on purpose. I swear to God, he did it on purpose. Right. It's hilarious. But yeah, so they made up, I guess. Anything on that?
No, I did see that tweet though. And
Very
I thought
funny.
That was pretty funny. That as soon as he left, he called Kirk Cousins ass.
He said he regretted leaving. Said, the grass is always greener, and I found, and I was ready to come back home. Panthers and wide receiver Robbie Anderson agreed to a 2-year, $29.5 million extension. He's a good receiver. That's probably a good move by them.
Yeah, and he's got a connection with Sam Darnold too, and I think that's what they're really relying upon.
Vikings and safety Harrison Smith agreed to a 4-year, $64 million extension. Is he still worth that much money, Andrew?
I think so. I think he's a top 10 safety in the league. I really do. Harrison Smith's a real good safety, good tackler, can cover a lot of ground. I think it's a good move.
We knew they'd get desperate for somebody eventually. I think, didn't Henderson get hurt here? Patriots trade running back Sony Michel to the Rams for a 2022 5th and 6th round pick. He was a 1st round pick.
He was a 1st round pick. Cam Akers got hurt. Darrell Henderson is banged up.
I'm pretty sure I drafted him.
Struggling. Rams are struggling at running back. So to make a move for Sony Michel, I forget the other guy they have in the backfield there that isn't banged up in Los Angeles. But hey, Michel wasn't going to get any run in New England, so good for him.
I don't expect him to do much, but Matt Stafford might have to do it all with his arm. Hopefully Michel can help out there. Aside from week 2, I'm cheering for the Rams this year. I really am. Texans trade defensive end Shaq Lawson to the Jets for a 2022 6th round pick. Worst franchise ever?
The Texans or the Jets?
Texans.
They're on their way. That's for sure. I mean, Shaq Lawson goes to New York. That's kind of their replacement for Carl Lawson for the year at defensive end. But yeah, the Texans. I saw a tweet today. Laramie Tunsil was participating in walkarounds today for the Texans. Laramie Tunsil is on the COVID-19 list, and he's participating in walkthroughs at the Texans facility.
Are we going to talk about Cam Newton? That's not in the news. We don't have that in the news. Cam Newton, dumbass. Next piece of news. I mean, the dude is just does he want to be a backup quarterback? Ever seen Blue Mountain State? Apparently, that's the best position in football. Backup quarterback.
I mean, if you're Chase Daniel, sure, that is a great position to be.
I don't understand it, man. Ravens, or Ravines, as Andrew likes to call them, trade cornerback Sean Wade to the Patriots for... yeah, it changed a common named bird to Ravines.
Listen, it did. Chill out.
They trade cornerback Sean Wade to the Patriots for a 2022 7th-round pick and a 2023 5th-round pick.
It's rare to see a rookie get traded within his first trading camp. Yeah. I mean, the Patriots needed a corner, but Sean Wade was not cracking that Ravens rotation at all.
Yeah. Injuries, Jaguars, running back Travis Etienne, Liz Frank injury, which we were worried about Carson Wentz having. He is out for the season. Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, not a good day for running backs. J.K. Dobbins, torn ACL, out for the season. That's not fun for the Ravens, especially because they don't have Mark Ingram anymore. Was he gone last year? He was there still last year, wasn't he?
He was there till the very end of the year. Now Mark Ingram is with the Texans.
Yes, I knew he was with the Texans now, but I couldn't. Okay, you get it. Vikings tight end Irv Smith Jr., meniscus, out for beginning of the season. Trey Lance, chip in his finger bone. Going to miss a little time. Guess that solves the who's going to start first debate Andrew and I have had.
Jimmy Garoppolo will be starting the season off, but it's not going to be long. Trey Lance, at the beginning of the year, I was saying, have Trey Lance sit out the year. Nah, I almost put money that Trey Lance is the starter when the Colts play the Niners in late October.
I'm telling you right now, if Jimmy Garoppolo starts out a guns a-blazing, the 49ers are screwed. I mean, they are in a tough spot if he has a great season. I mean, they are absolutely screwed. Not a fun spot to be in. I heard his first game wasn't great, but I haven't really heard much since then in regards to Trey Lance. But we'll see how Jimmy does because he's going to be starting. I don't think Justin Fields is going to start week one. I do think at this point now, I think Mac Jones is going to take the job from Cam because up until this past week when Cam pulled this bullshit about making a mistake with protocols or whatever, Belichick was pretty clear Cam Newton is our quarterback. And this past week, I haven't heard it quite as clearly. Anything else in the NFL that I'm missing, Andrew, that we're missing?
I don't think so. Right. Well, hey, next week, our predictions are back because next week will be week one. So we'll be picking every game in the NFL.
Yeah, no episode next weekend, but should have an episode next week for our first, right? Oh my God, dude! Dude, my next week's gonna suck so bad. I gotta pack and move home from Seattle, but football would be waiting for me to greet me. Hard Knocks, Andrew. Good episode. Yeah, I kind of watched it today during work. Took some notes. What did you think of Hard Knocks episode 3?
3. This is my favorite episode of the season so far. Really is. I love because you know me. I love the backstories on the players, learning more about them. Mm-hmm. That big offensive lineman. I think his name is Alacon.
He'll probably get cut.
Something.
His first name's Isaac.
Like that. Oh yeah. Isaac, he does not look good at all, but hey, he's a jolly big guy. Yeah, and I love his family. His family's so supportive of him. That was pretty cool to see. But yeah, I think that was my favorite thing, was just seeing all these guys now on the back end of the roster that you don't really hear too much about, and just learning their backstories.
I think it's really cool that, and they talked about it with him, but I think it's cool international players are going to be allowed to have their country's flag on their helmet instead of just the United States flag, which, I mean, yeah, USA, obviously, but also if these guys are from somewhere else and they want to rep their country, I know it's the National Football League, but it's the World Football League. Realistically, I mean,
Right.
this is the football league.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I just as a coach, Andrew, I wanted to talk about him just a quick bit too. As a coach, like you could see that they see potential in him. I mean, why don't they pull him aside instead of just letting him flail around? Pull him aside and say, "Listen to me. I see potential here. I need you to do this specific. I need you to get your head out of your ass, and I need you to do this. Can I see this out of you today?" You know what I mean? Maybe they did. Maybe you see more of it, or would see more of it if you were there. But it just felt like if you want the guy to stand out, go have a conversation with him real quick and put him back out there. I don't know.
Right. And I forget the running back's name. Maybe you have it written down. But when Zeke was talking to the younger running backs and kind of teaching them about which way to go and how to set people up, even like Amari Cooper was talking to CeeDee Lamb about how he sets up the guys with his route running ability. That is the type of stuff that fans never see, is that communication between a veteran and a younger guy, the teaching. I mean, can you imagine being a fly on the wall, hearing the conversations that Marvin Harrison had to Reggie Wayne, who had him to T.Y. Hilton, who's having them with Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell, just to hear that the nuances of the receiver position. I thought that was pretty cool to see as well.
Something that popped in my head this week, the 88 tradition for the Dallas Cowboys. You and I have talked about the whole retiring a jersey number thing quite a bit. What if teams just stop doing that and instead go like start a tradition with a couple numbers on their team where like it's an honor to wear that number instead? Like instead of retiring it, now listen, 18's retired, but I mean, just in general, a number in general, like what if it just becomes this tradition of like, if you're this, the wide receiver, on this team, you wear this number. I think that'd be really cool. If a guy doesn't want the number, fine. But I don't know. I think the 88 tradition for the Dallas Cowboys and their best receiver, or, that special receiver wearing that number, I think it's a really cool tradition. What do you think?
I think it's cool if for a certain team. I'm still in the camp of I want the guys to have their own number that's special to them. Like Peyton Manning is 18, Marvin Harrison's 88.
Yeah, but there's only so many numbers, right?
Right, I understand that, but those are for the all-time greats, and I do think it is cool that the Cowboys have that tradition where it goes from it started with or it was with Michael Irvin.
Michael Irving's an all-time great.
Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb now.
Did T.O. wear 88?
T.O. wore 80 or 81. And I think it was even before Michael Irvin. He just went into the Hall of Fame this year, actually. It was the guy that we were there. And the guy that said Pro Football Hall of Fame was the first guy that went out said Pro Football Hall of Fame like 50 million times in his speech. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. But anyway, I forget his name. This is bad for me.
Isaacs?
But yeah. No, it wasn't Isaacs.
Shit, I forget his name
now I got to look it up.
Carry on. Finish your story and then look it up when I talk about something else.
But yeah, I think it is a cool tradition. I'm still in the camp, though, that I like for jerseys to be retired.
I just thought it was cool. Fun idea. Speaking of backup running backs, I didn't need to see that dude's eyeball up so close with the contact. Didn't need that. Didn't want to see that. Didn't need to see that. Zeke, though, looks in shape. He's come into some season in the last few years not looking good, especially with the whole holdout. He looks good right now. And he looks relaxed. He looks like he's having fun. Zeke might have another year under his belt in him. You get it. What's the guy's name?
Drew Pearson.
Damn it. What do you think about Zeke? Real quick.
You're right. He looks good. I mean, you've been trashing him saying, I don't think he's even a top 10 running back. I mean, man, if he can stay healthy, and I think Dak being there helps him a lot. I wouldn't put him top 5, but I'd say top 10. I could say Zeke's the top 10 running back. And I think Dak just being there is very helpful to Zeke as well. They're like attached to the hip. Every single like shot of the offense, Dak and Zeke are standing right next to each other. I had no clue that they were that close.
I didn't either until this show. Male guy, this is my last point. Male guy, awesome. 4 generations of running the fucking mail department. That is so cool. I think that's cool.
That's
and
awesome.
Dak's like buddies with him. Dak was like telling guys in the quarterback room, like, dude, that guy, he's 4th generation mailroom guy.
Well, he just sits down and he plays spades with Dak and Zeke and Micah Parsons like he's one of the dudes.
Oh, it was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
The thing is, too, he's a cool. He sounds like a really nice dude, too. Yeah. So it was great to see just the lineage of how his great grandfather, his grandfather's dad, they all worked in the same mailroom, the same Dallas Cowboys mailroom. That was pretty awesome.
I'm just telling you, if I was sitting down next to Carson Wentz playing cards, okay, first of all, I'd already be and Carson, Andrew, any Colts player, any good Colts player, right? I don't know if I'd be able to maintain myself for a game of cards, let alone kick their ass and then punk them for it. You know what I mean? Like, just be like, yeah.
He beat Dak and Zeke in spades, and he looks at Dak and he says, never play me in this again. Just drops the cards right on there. I loved it. But yeah, I mean, he was cool. And then seeing Trayvon Diggs' little kid, that little boy was awesome. I mean, cheered for his dad, wanting to see Dak wearing that little Dak jersey. So it's just, this is my favorite part of Hard Knocks, is seeing the behind the scenes stuff, seeing the kids or the players with their families and learning their backstories. That's the best part.
Yeah. So next Wednesday, guys, probably is when our next episode will be. Season opener of the league is Thursday night. So you'll want to see our picks and whatnot. We're also going to do some, predictions for the end of season awards, who we think is going to be in the Super Bowl, MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, all those fun things. And hopefully I should have like enough stuff to actually be able to produce a show out still. So that'll be great. Because the U-Haul boxes are coming on Tuesday, the 7th. So all my shit's getting packed up. I think I'm not even going to have a couch. I'm not even going to have a chair. I have no idea how I'm going to do this show next week. Can't wait for that. I figured it out in my head already. There we go. Go follow us. It's on the screen again, at @theeducatedfan_. The Educated Fan on Facebook. Like, subscribe, all the things. Thanks for listening to this real long episode again. Me and Andrew love to go along. And until next time, God bless you. God bless football, and go Colts.
Go Colts.
I fucking love football, and I love you guys.